Here we go. Um,
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to another episode of the Electrical Oofaloos podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Darren Barron, aka Jetpack Cat 076 on Letterboxd, and with me, as always, is the one, the only.
Dominique Beltran, Shadow Spider 004 on Letterboxd, and close personal friend of Dua Lipa, I think. I can't remember. I just
Whoa,
know so many famous people at this point, It's hard to remember
wow.
which one I'm friends with and which ones that have done something personal to me that I'll never forgive them for and probably make a reality TV show about it at one point. So,
Whoa,
yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Like,
Do you want to give us an example of a celebrity who has slighted you?
um,
People want to know.
yeah. So you know that one kid, William Poulter? He's going to be Adam Warlock in the
Oh,
Guardians of the Galaxy 3 movie, right?
yeah,
He
yeah.
has a dumb face, and that was a personal slight to me. So yeah.
That that's unfortunately valid. I will say this though. I don't know if I've actually seen him in anything else besides Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
Yeah,
Um,
no,
but I absolutely thought that he was perfect for that role
because he
because
has a very
Eustace
punchable face.
and Eustace is a very punchable character.
Yep. No, I
At,
agree.
at least in that one. He
Yeah.
gets better later on in the series, but
Oh, that's good. Yeah, no, he's in that. And I think he's like the main um like bully antagonist character in the Maze Runner series. And
oh,
I think
interesting. Oh, I haven't seen those.
um I've only seen the first one. But also, villain role. So there you go.
I'm excited to see that.
Me too. Guardians of the Galaxy is gonna be so dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we jump into it now, we'll be getting a little bit ahead of
We're
ourselves
a little bit ahead of ourselves. Yep.
as today we would like to discuss the current state of Marvel, DC, and comic book movies in general, I think, and where they are now, where they've come from, and where do we think they're going to go.
Yep. I tried to
But,
get Kevin Feige and James Gunn on the podcast,
oh,
but
yeah.
Feige stopped returning my calls because he's probably too busy or something, or I just asked him to make that Gambit movie too many
I,
times.
that might, because I
Yeah,
was going to say it's probably my fault because I was really, really pushing for both of them to have a rap battle.
that would be
And
cool.
I agree. I think it would have been awesome, but I kept bugging both of them about that. I kept sending
Uh,
emails about a rap battle, potential lyrics,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
homemade beats that I've done,
yeah.
and
Can I find them on your SoundCloud account?
yeah, yeah,
Very good.
they're all labeled Marvel DC rap battle .exe 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Five got deleted somewhere in the process. So.
Oh no. Dang. Yeah, no, that's unfortunate. Maybe we can pitch it to ERB and see if they'll do something
Yeah,
like
we'll see if they'll do something like that.
that. Yeah, so we're sorry about that, guys, but maybe once our podcast makes even more money than the MCU and DCU combined, maybe then they'll like actually want to get on our podcast. So,
And as we have maintained our title as the only podcast,
yep.
we don't think it'll be that long before that starts happening.
Nope. Because people, they're slowly just losing more and more desire to be interactive with anything. Because first, you got your books, you have to use your hands to hold it, turn the pages, your eyes to read the books, and your mind to like comprehend what you're reading. Then we got movies and TV show, bit easier, just kind of sit there and use your eyes to watch, your ears to listen. A lot simpler. Now with podcasts, literally all you have to do is listen. That's it.
That's it.
So I'm pretty sure podcasts will actually take over as the primary form of entertainment within like the next year. But it's kind of hard to tell if there's a correlation between people wanting to do less for their entertainment or the fact that our podcast is the only one and also the best one. So
And the best one, yeah.
yeah.
So that being said, for your next depressive episode, think about us, lay in bed, stay in bed, and just turn us on. Anyway,
I'm getting turned on
Dominique,
in bed.
as soon as I said it, I knew that was going to happen. Okay.
Sorry.
No, no, no. I was waiting for it. As soon as I said it, I was like, oh, here it comes. Oh, boy. Oh, wow. Dominic, um, tell us about some of the movies you've been watching recently. I know you've seen Ant-Man, and I would like to get into that a little bit later, but what else have you been watching lately?
I don't even freaking remember what I've watched since last time. I think I'd seen. Oh yeah, no, I do remember because I had just gotten back from watching Women Talking when we last recorded.
Yes.
I watched Brother Bear 2, which was bad, but I'm also one of the handful of people that hate the first one. Fun fact about me, so I don't know why I was thought I would even enjoy it at all. I don't know.
Mm-hmm,
It was
mm-hmm.
at least less grating. Like it was so boring and bad that I didn't even have any like passion to hate it. It was just bad, you know?
One I do want to ask you about as I'm pulling up your letterbox here is Masters of the Universe with Dolph Lundgren.
Was so dope. It was so rad. It was
I'm
incredible. We
excited to
had
watch
such
that
a
one.
great time. It's just on YouTube free with ads, so
Nice.
it's more than welcome to. Yeah, I watched the 2016 Ghostbusters, which was fine. It's not awful, it's not good. It's whatever. Rewatched Babylon again, and yeah, for real, guys, freaking watch Babylon. It is incredible. Loved it so much. Couple of 80s classics like Top Gun and Groundhog Day. I watched Knock at the Cabin, M. Night Shyamalan's new film, which was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's no Unbreakable or Sixth Sense or anything, but it
Few
was all
things
right.
are.
Yeah, that's true. I rewatched Banshees of Inisherin, which further confirms that it's like one of my favorite movies of last year, easily. It is so good, and I loved it a bunch. I finally watched All Quiet on the Western Front, the last Best Picture nominee I still had to watch. It was also very good. And I watched all three Ant-Man movies this week, which we'll get into. And if you guys follow me on Letterboxd and have seen my reviews, you guys know how much I love Ant-Man because all of them are at least 4.5 stars
All
with
of them.
hearts. I love the Ant-Man series a bunch. So it's fun to get to watch them. And then I caught Puss in Boots: The Last Wish in theaters again because it freaking rocks. And I wanted to
Wow.
go see it again. So,
Awesome.
yep.
Yeah, no, you've got a pretty stacked list there.
Mhm.
A lot of really fun movies.
What about you, my good sir?
Well, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to pull up my letterbox as we speak. So, since we last chatted, we watched The Prestige, The Martian,
Great
uh,
films.
Signs,
Oh, great
which
films.
great films. I watched Steven Spielberg War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. Uh, Extremely underwhelming movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um, it had everything, it had to be a great movie, but it was fine. And speaking of fine, I finally watched No Time to Die. The longtime James Bond fan, and I will say it was better than I was expecting. I enjoyed
Right.
it more than I expected.
Okay, that's good.
Um, and that being said, I think it was just okay. I don't think it was the most fitting for Bond farewells. I don't mind that they killed Bond. I think that's kind of cool. I
I do
do
too.
mind they killed Felix.
Yes. a
Like,
hundred percent agree.
holy cow, Felix is one of my favorite James Bond characters, and especially this one played by
Huh?
Jeffrey Wright. Ever since Casino Royale, I've just loved it when he popped up. I loved him in the books, and I think it is a tragedy that they decided to kill him because that honestly, I would. I would not be opposed if they just stopped making James Bond movies now and
Hmm.
went off and started doing Felix spinoffs. 100%. I would not mind. Um, eh, my biggest complaint is that I feel like the villain is just somewhat underwhelming. It's not interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like James Bond as a character is pretty, I hate to say this, but uninteresting. James
Yeah.
Bond should be the same in each movie. We know what to expect from James Bond. I expect that from his character. I don't need any more depth. What makes the James Bond movies unique and different and stand out are the different villains who are charismatic or
Yeah.
weird or crazy and memorable. And this one just wasn't.
Yep.
I rewatched Hot Shots for the first time after seeing the Top Gun movies, and absolutely, it's so much funnier.
Yep.
It's perfect. And then yesterday, I watched Kenneth Branagh's Henry V,
I saw that.
which I wholeheartedly enjoyed. And I know next to nothing about Henry V. Like I didn't I before I watched it, I couldn't even tell you the plot of the Shakespeare play. Um, but it looked fun. And I've been watching another BBC show from the 90s called Cadfile
Hmm.
about a 12th century monk who solves murder mysteries,
Okay.
starring Jake Jacoby
That
or Derek
sounds pretty
Jacoby.
cool.
It's awesome. It's a lot of fun. And I saw he was in this. I'm like, you know what? I'll watch it. And I thought it was absolutely incredible movie, especially considering it's Kenneth Branagh's directional debut.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. I saw that you mentioned that. I'm like, dang, that's actually kind of
And
wild.
yeah, and when you watch it, like, holy cow, it's incredibly cinematic. It's got an incredible cast, and it all just comes together very well. And so I absolutely loved that.
Very good.
But I am hoping to see Ant-Man this week.
Very good. I'm going to go see it again tonight, actually.
Ooh,
Yep.
exciting. I'm so curious to hear your review about it. I'm absolutely dying to hear what you think of it because I don't know. I'm just excited.
Yeah, no, I mean, so that's why if you saw my review, I kind of was just like, I'm super pumped and I loved it. Because I think
Exactly.
watching it again today will be when I can really like think about what I feel about the movie. I'll be honest, it'll probably go down to just 4 stars instead of 4.5.
Hmm.
But I was too hyped having just seen it to put it anywhere else.
Do we want to just jump right into this?
For sure.
So I've been hearing uh, mixed things to say the least
Yes,
about
which is
Ant-Man.
upsetting for me personally.
I'm sure. Um, some of the positives I hear about it is some of the CGI is absolutely gorgeous. Some of
It's
it is
really cool looking.
really cool looking. I hear Jonathan Majors as King the Conqueror is a
He's
standout
so
performance.
good. I'm so excited to see him do more in the MCU as the next big bad. Oh my gosh.
And that's good to hear. Um, and of course, I hear Paul Rudd is fantastic as always.
He just carries the entire movie. Not that like anyone's slacking. Like I mean, we
Sure,
have Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas in this thing, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like anyone's
sure.
slacking, but Paul Rudd just absolutely carries the film.
Are there any other major high notes that you would have to give this movie? Like,
Um,
what are some of the positives that you can say about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania?
so one of the things I was really worried about with not having, so spoiler alert, I guess, but
Are
Luis,
we doing a spoiler review?
it
Free
won't be that
review?
spoilery.
Okay,
I'm just
okay.
putting this out
Because
here.
I haven't seen this yet, and I don't want
Yeah, no,
spoilers. I've
it's
avoided
not.
spoilers.
Yeah, it's not really a spoiler. It's just that
Okay,
Ant-Man's like friends Luis and his crime buddies aren't in this movie because, as I'm sure you could guess, it takes place mostly in the quantum realm. So I was worried about it not being that like as funny, but
right.
I am like, happy to say that it is still very funny. They've got a lot of good actors that just have good like lines and delivery and stuff. It just works. So that was good. Um, I like that this movie is so like different from the first two Ant-Mans because of the first two Ant-Mans are just kind of like, hey, we got to do some science stuff and help out the Pym family or whatever, nothing too consequential
Sure.
until of course the quantum realm becomes essential to Endgame, but we didn't know that at the time. This one, of course, since Kang's going to be the next big bad for the series, it's really cool for me at least as a huge fan of these characters to see Ant-Man just way out of his depth
Yeah.
because he's taking on, like a Thanos level threat basically, and he's just Ant-Man. But the movie really shows why Ant-Man's still one of the Avengers, and I loved that. As like the biggest, not the biggest fan, but one of the biggest fans of Ant-Man, I was so pleased to have the movie and the story really be like, look, Ant-Man may be a little bit of the funny comic side humor characters with the Avengers, but he still belongs on the team. And I really liked that a lot. That made me very happy. Um, let's see. It does look really visually pleasing. Like it's one of the weirdest MCU movies. It might be just the weirdest MCU movie straight up. It's really weird, but I liked that a ton too. It was very entertaining. It's very like different
Sure.
feeling. It doesn't feel it feels like an Ant-Man movie, but it also doesn't feel like an Ant-Man movie. I think as the trilogy potentially closer, we'll see if we get an Ant-Man 4 or not. Apparently there's talks about it, but that's just talks, who's to say.
Sure.
I think this is a good cap for at least
For now.
for yeah, for like his character as far as like solo movies go, like Civil War was for Captain America. He still had more to
You
do,
know,
but like as the ending of the trilogy, it works.
because one thing about Marvel that um I I absolutely love is how good some of these solo trilogies are.
Uh,
And even the trilogies that aren't solid all the way through, like Iron Man, for instance, the
yep.
first Iron Man's pretty good. I really like the first Iron Man. Iron Man 2 does not cut it for me. And Iron Man 3 is half and half. Happen to be on the side where I quite like it.
I love Iron Man
But
3.
I really quite enjoy it. So even no matter where you fall on that scale of what you think of 2 and 3, you got to admit Iron Man's arc through
Yep.
those movies is phenomenal. Same
Fantastic.
with the Thor movies.
Uh-huh.
First Thor movie, take it or leave it. Thor Dark World, not as strong. Thor Ragnarok is absolutely killer. But no matter how you feel about those, Thor's arc through those 3 movies, taken out of the MCU, if you just watch those 3, he's got a great character arc.
Mm-hmm.
And same can be said for uh, Captain America and his trilogy, like
Is a great trilogy through.
which is a great trilogy all the way through. And similarly, Spider-Man
Yep.
has had a pretty much flawless trilogy for me. And so I'm very curious to see how this is going to finish. Uh, this initial Ant-Man trilogy, is it going to give us that satisfying ending? Is I does Ant-Man have this character arc that we've seen in other Marvel films?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no,
So
I really liked it.
now it's good to hear. What are your feelings on MODOK?
I love what they did with MODOK. I was really worried, but he's honestly one of my favorite parts of the movie. I'm not gonna
Interesting.
lie. So it kind of depends on your mileage with the character, because some people really like MODOK because he's really creepy and weird and kind of a pretty dope villain, all things considered. But if you're a fan of Patton Oswalt's very comic take on him in the Hulu TV show, if you like MODOK as a joke character because he is really freaking weird, then this movie will do that for you. Me
Interesting.
personally, I loved MODOK as a joke. It was really funny.
Interesting.
Like he's still a little scary here and there, but
Sure.
for the most part, his scenes are played pretty comically, and I think that was a good balance. Because like we've already got a super serious, scary villain in King, so having another kind of like
Joke
side
villain.
villain character to kind of lighten the mood here and there was pretty good.
Interesting. And what are your overall feelings on the quantum realm? Just from what we've seen in the trailer, it looks really expansive,
Yeah.
really like uh, for something so small, something incredibly large scale. It looks like an entire universe of its own.
Hmm.
What were your feelings on the quantum realm itself?
I quite liked it. I was watching an interview with Michelle Pfeiffer earlier today, where she was talking about how hard it was to film the her scenes in the quantum realm in the second movie because it's pretty much just all CGI completely. But she was talking for this one is a lot easier because I mean obviously not all of it, but a lot of the sets, at least parts of them, were constructed physically, and you can really feel that like in the movie. Like you
Absolutely.
can feel the weird reality that these guys are in now, and I think it works really well.
Something else I've heard, and I wonder how much this is true. I'm assuming they used it for this, but the large like 360 LED screens that the Mandalorian kind of pioneered.
Hmm.
I'd imagine if Disney did use these as well in some of the scenes, that helps a ton
Yeah, I think I
as you can
remember hearing that they did.
visualize
Yep,
some of your surroundings.
yep, yep.
So with this out of the way, how do you feel like Marvel is standing right now?
So
Now, that's
I
kind of a big question. We'll get more
yeah,
into that, but you know, post Endgame Marvel, we just finished up Phase 4, just started Phase 5.
yep. I feel like this does because I feel like someone I don't know if it was Peyton Reed or Kevin Feige or someone, but someone was like, "All right, Phase 5 is when we really draw all the different threads we've started in Phase 4 kind of together to start kind of like pulling them together into the more cohesive story we have planned." And you can
Mhm.
feel that. A lot of people have been kind of turned off by that. Like they've been like, oh, this one just feels like a trailer for the rest of the phases of Marvel, which I get, but since because it is, setting up our new villain with Kang. But I like that we have a whole movie to kind of like see how Kang is because we don't really get to meet Thanos until Infinity War, where he's the big bad and all that happens.
Yeah, yeah, that's
And
true.
so I like having a full movie to kind of like show who his character is, where he's from, and kind of put more of a here and there show on him instead of just like a 1 minute, hey, I'm still here cameo that Thanos had during phases 2 and 3. But I don't know, maybe that's just me. But I liked it a lot. I'm really upset that it's getting worse reviews than Thor: Love and Thunder because it is way better than Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, it is
Way
right
better.
now on Rotten Tomatoes. It is the second lowest MCU movie.
Second only to your personal favorite.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I am thoroughly disappointed with that fact because it is worlds better than Thor: Love and Thunder. Because like I get it as people feeling like, oh, MCU fatigue, and this is just a setup for the next movie and whatever. I understand that, but part of the thing is that's pretty much the MCU is gonna like that's their thing is having these big long stories interwoven together. It's
Mhm.
like a crossover in a comic book, like there's the character side issues that are related to it still deal with whatever is happening in the overall world, but they're also still kind of their own story. Like they're tie-in issues.
Yeah,
So that makes sense to me, but I get why people aren't like overjoyed about it. But it's a way better and funnier film than Thor: Love and Thunder is. So, um, yeah, wasn't too overjoyed about that happening, but it's whatever.
no. So would you say at their current state, do you feel like they're on an incline or a decline when it
Definitely on
comes
an
to popularity?
def. Oh, as far as popularity, I mean, it's hard to kind of like take over the world again, like
Sure,
Endgame and Infinity War did. So it's definitely on the decline, but not as much as like naysayers would like want you to believe. You know what I'm saying?
sure.
Like it's
Well,
go
what were
ahead.
you going to say
Oh,
before
cause
I brought up
like,
popularity?
cause like, I mean, it's like it's still plenty pop. Like all the people I know are like, oh yeah, let's go watch freaking Ant-Man this week. We're super excited for it, whatever. Like
Sure.
it's still the new MCU film, and most of my, I mean, granted, I associate with mostly completely college age, you know, so our peers, like our generation or whatever, that have been watching these movies for years instead of just like kind of getting into them later or as like adults not being super interested in it or whatever. I say like we're not adults ourselves, but um um I feel like yeah, it's set to be the highest grossing movie of the three, which is nice. I'm excited about
Mhm.
that, but I feel like that's mostly a because of like Kang and starting off the fifth phase and that kind of stuff over people wanting to see like the next Ant-Man movie, which
Sure.
is sad to me because again, Ant-Man and the Wasp are literally my favorite characters in the MCU. But I get it. So I don't know. I don't think Marvel will ever be able to like get on the same level as Endgame. But I think if they kind of do course correct, Kevin Feige recently revealed that they like do a funeral kind of a thing meeting every time a new movie comes out, or
Yeah, I
they
heard
talk
about
yeah,
this.
they talk about like what went right, what went wrong. And so I feel like with that in mind, they're starting to kind of pull that together. I think the big problem was just like having phase four just be a whole bunch of really not that connected stories to bring him into phase five. I feel like maybe that was not the right call, but that's just me.
Now, and I've thought about this, about what went wrong, because I think pretty much everyone can agree Phase Four was kind of a flop overall.
Kind of
It
mid.
it didn't live up to anyone's hype, and I know some people accredit to like Marvel fatigue,
Mm-hmm.
or whatnot. Uh, I personally am of the belief that it's bad movie fatigue,
Yeah.
that they put out a lot of subpar content.
Yep.
And I don't even mind. I don't think that it has anything to do with the fact that they're not always connected. And I think that would be a good step for Marvel if they did more kind of separate stuff before they started bringing things together again, focus on individual characters. They're trying to introduce a bunch of new characters for this next generation of Avengers. And I think it would be beneficial to have more solo stuff that isn't necessarily connected to anything else in the world right now, but time to build up these individual
Mm.
characters.
That's fair.
Um, but I the other problem that I have is the Disney Plus shows. I can't. I just have such a hard time with them. And
Mm,
this is more of a personal thing, but I just have a hard time getting invested in the shows. I don't feel necessarily as interested in the stories that they're trying to tell. I keep up with them after episodes come out because I read it, through synopses and whatnot, but I
mm-hmm.
don't I don't actually care that much to watch the shows.
Gotcha. I will say the last couple of episodes of Loki do kind of help set the stage and further the stage for the Ant-Man movie here.
Mm-hmm.
Since one of King's variants shows up in Loki as kind of like the big bad,
The
kind
one
of.
who remains.
Yeah. And then the fallout of freaking Lady Loki killing killing him at the end of it like plays into Quantum Mania. So it is kind of important, not super important, but kind of important.
Interesting. Interesting.
So yeah, no, I do agree the phase four has been kind of mid, other than of course Spider-Man No Way Home being one of the most
Mhm.
banger films ever. I loved Shang-Chi with all my heart. It's literally my third favorite MCU film.
Wow.
I freaking love Shang-Chi, man. It's in my top 50, dude. I love Shang-Chi. I
Man.
adored that movie.
I like Shang-Chi a lot. It really is the final battle that kind of makes it
Yeah, no, I
drop
agree.
significantly in my book.
Yep,
Otherwise,
I
I'd agree it'd be one of my favorite. Up until that point, I'd definitely say it's up there. I mean, the the bus fight is one of the
oh
coolest scenes
cool.
in the MCU.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, and I wrote about that in the review I did like last month, I think, about it. That
Hmm.
last third really does drop off, but I still enjoy the rest of the movie enough. And then for me
Right,
to be like, ah. But yeah, no,
right, right.
I love Shang-Chi.
It,
And oh, go ahead.
he is one of the most interesting characters to me, I think, going forward, and with them hinting about what the rings really are, where
Yeah.
they come from. Like he is definitely one of the characters I am most invested in going forward.
Oh yeah, I am dying for Shang-Chi 2 to be announced already. But like outside of that, oh, and Wakanda Forever. I really liked Wakanda Forever a bunch. That was really good. Like outside of those three, really only one of them being like great, and two of them being probably more objectively pretty good.
Hmm.
Oh, and WandaVision. WandaVision was fantastic. But the rest of them are pretty kind of just hit or miss, you know? Like Black Widow's fine, Thor Love and Thunder's fine, Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness is fine. Loki was interesting, and the last two episodes are pretty cool. But still, for the most part, just kind of like fine. I loved Moon Knight, but I would not be the last one or the first one to. I would be. I wouldn't not admit that it was kind of hit or miss, kind of mid for the most part. The
Sure.
actual Moon Knight parts were really cool, but some of it doesn't hit as much. The last episode was really rushed. I don't know. I think like part of it's really just because I love the character of Moon Knight more than the show's actually like a good show. So yeah, we it's unlike say like phase three where you had like Guardians 2, Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, a whole bunch Spider-Man Far From Home, Civil War, like a whole bunch of all-time classic MCU films. Like some
Right.
of their all-time best ones. And yeah, kind of down kind of dipped in quality a lot.
So, what do you think Marvel's goal should be going forward? As you said, know, I also don't think that they'll be able to recapture the same kind of energy and excitement that Infinity War and Endgame had. So, what do you think Marvel should? What do you think their goal is here? Where do you think they're going? Are they going to try to recapture? Are they going to try to recreate that same excitement? And if so, what do you think they need to do so?
I'm really not sure at this point because I feel like they're at least this past phase was really betting on um like nostalgia for other things, like say the Spider-Man No Way Home or like
Sure.
WandaVision bringing in the X-Men universe's Quicksilver kind of. And then Spider-Man No Way Home having all three Spider-Mans, which I'm not going to argue against because any chance I get to see Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man again is a great opportunity. But regardless, it is still there. And then like Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness having like all those superheroes from either other properties or new properties or whatever, like a lot of it's like, ooh, look at all the things we can do with the multiverse, but then they don't really do much with it except for No Way Home. Bringing in the three Spider-Man and the other super villains from the other Spider-Man movies works for the plot. It's a brilliant idea, works well. But the rest of them are mostly just like, ooh, look who we have in this movie. Remember them? And that's
Right,
not sustainable.
right. And that is kind of what I'm worried about going forward. I mean, you've said that they're kind of building up towards the Secret Wars,
Right.
which uh, I, I I personally find very hard to imagine,
Mm,
as Secret Wars is such a huge story within the MCU
hmm
or within the Marvel Comics universe. I mean, you have almost every character imaginable somehow involved in the Secret Wars, and I mean they have so much to build up to until then, and that's only coming out in what, 2025,
I
26.
think it's 26. Yeah.
I mean, they have a lot of ground to cover until, I mean, and who knows? I mean, much like Civil War, it's almost definitely going to be a very scaled back version.
Right.
But I mean, with this whole multiverse thing and bringing in multiple Spider-Mans and having Patrick Stewart show up in Multiverse of Madness, as well as we know we're getting Fantastic Four and all that comes with that. Mutants have been officially introduced into the MCU now. There's a lot of ground that they're going to have to cover if they're going to be able to deliver in what we're kind of thinking they're promising. And I am worried that they're going to rely off of nostalgia and um, try to reintegrate. I mean, we know we're getting Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine in Deadpool 3.
Right.
I wonder how much of previous work that's been done outside of the MCU and how much that's going to be involved now. And if they're
Yeah.
going to rely too heavy on that rather than um, coming up with new iterations of these characters.
Yeah. Because on the one hand, it is really like as a fan of these characters for a long time, it's like I said, freaking having Andrew Garfield show up in Spider-Man No Way Home and then having Daredevil show up in Spider-Man No Way
Yeah,
Home, like I was losing my mind for sure. But that said, as a more like objective like movie just considerer, I guess, it doesn't quite hit after a while. Again, I feel like No Way Home's the only one that did it well. But even then, you have to have seen the other five Spider-Man movies to really
yeah,
have it work. Otherwise, you're just super confused. So, yeah, I don't know.
yeah. I don't know. I have pretty mixed feelings. I guess I'm not necessarily opposed to them bringing some of these, I guess, legacy characters back,
Hmm
but I feel like you'd really have to up the quality of the movies. Like, I think it's a real shame that Patrick Stewart was brought back in Multiverse of Madness to have 5 minutes of screen time and then promptly dies.
Don't even get
I,
me
I,
started on Anson Mount as Black Bolt, man.
yeah, Black Bull and I mean John Krasinski as
John
Reed
Krasinski
Richards
as
is,
Mr. Fantastic. No, it's something. It does just kind of feel like, yeah, we're just running with it to generate news headlines, get people to see it once, be like, okay, that was
yeah.
good.
So let's jump over a little bit, because I do agree it should be interesting, but let's talk about, I'd say, their competition right now. Um, DC,
Yep.
James Gunn's DC. We talked about it a little last time. it's hard to come up with the questions to ask here, but you know, James Gunn's DC hasn't even officially started yet.
Nope.
But we've gotten the Flash trailer now
Yep.
at the Super Bowl. What are your thoughts on the Flash?
See, this is kind of the same thing.
It's
It's
very much the same
wild
thing, and that's
though.
why I wanted to lead into it, because this is a direct correlation that I think both studios are dealing with right now, that they're trying to reintroduce old characters from past movies that have nothing to do with their uh, cinematic universe and kind of banking off of that.
Yeah, because like I don't know, man. Because on the one hand, again, like fun fact about me, Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck are my two favorite Batman. Not my favorite Bat movies. That would be 89 and Pattinson's The Batman. But they're my favorite two actors who have played Batman. So having both of them in the same movie, especially Keaton, who is my favorite Batman, his 89 film is in like my top 10 films of all time. Like
Right, right.
I'm so pumped. Like I was screaming when I watched the trailer and he's like, "Yeah, I'm Batman." I'm like, "Let's freaking go!" But at the same time, yeah, we're just bringing in old characters to just be like, "Oh, hey, remember this guy? Hey." And I'm intrigued to see where it goes because from what I can tell, it seems like somehow, um, Barry doing his Flashpoint thing created a world where Superman doesn't exist, but Supergirl does, which is kind of cool because I don't know if it was in the deleted scene or if it was in the movie, but there's a scene when Superman finds that crashed, what becomes his Fortress of Solitude, and one of the
Mm-hmm,
pods is opened, and
mm-hmm.
the producer hinted like, yeah, that was supposed to be Supergirl if that ever happens. So they might be leading up on that, and I'm intrigued to see Man of Steel being one of my favorite films in the Snyderverse. I'm intrigued to see where like what they do with that. I think will be really cool. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm super excited to see Keaton back again, basically. But I
Right,
don't know
right,
if this is gonna. But at the same time, I don't think they're gonna bank on that as much as Marvel has for Phase 4 here. I feel like it's basically just gonna be Flash, and then James Gunn is using that as like a breaking point for his completely new characters for all of their new heroes.
right,
Maybe I don't know what's happening with Shazam or Aquaman or Wonder Woman, but for Batman and Superman at least, we're getting new actors. So I don't know. I really don't know.
right. No, and I agree. I'm very curious to see how this Flash movie is going to do. I can
Mm-hmm.
see it going one of two ways. You know, I'm definitely of the belief that no publicity is bad publicity,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. And I think my most recent example is the Hogwarts Legacy game,
Mm.
which thousands of people online have been trying to cancel and making a big deal of, but its sales are, I mean, just its pre-sales are going through the roof.
Yep.
So despite so much public backlash, that has not done nothing but boost its sales. And I can see something very similar happening for the Flash movie and Ezra Miller's controversy and people trying to
Mm.
uh, convince others not to go see it, but only convincing them that they should go see it. And where was I going with this? Anyway, I can see it going that way where the sales do very well. And it's been said by James Gunn and others that this is one of the highest like screen tested DC movies they've done.
Oh yeah.
They've gotten so many positive reactions from all their screen tests and through different iterations of the film, as this film has been in development hell for so long.
Yep.
So, um, so I don't know. I'm worried, and um, I'm worried that if this movie does well, it'll cause more problems for DC than it would do anything else.
Mm.
And here's why. Much like when they released the Snyder Cut of the Justice League, and fans pretty much universally loved the Snyder Cut, or at
Right.
least thought it was an upgrade,
Which it is.
which it is. It's massively an upgrade. Everyone, I don't think there's anyone who thinks the Whedon cut is better.
Yeah.
Um, I think that caused more problems for DC
Interesting.
because they had already pretty much said that the Snyderverse is not continuing. But then they released the Snyder Cut, and fans just want more of that.
Yep.
They did not want what DC was putting out. They didn't want what was they had slated, because the Snyder Cut showed that that is what they wanted. Whereas DC had already stated before they released the Snyder Cut that the Snyderverse was dead. And so the Flash is going to be used to reboot the DC universe and really kick off James Gunn's DC. But if this does well, and people love Supergirl, who
Right.
was slated to get her own movie until James Gunn scrapped everything, and Keaton's Batman, who was set to come back in the Batgirl movie that was already canceled, and
I'm
uh,
still so upset we didn't get that.
and future potential projects. This may be the last time we get Keaton's Batman. My guess is he probably doesn't have a place in James Gunn's universe,
Mhm.
which I'm fine with. But if this movie succeeds and does so well, and I wouldn't be surprised if Ezra Miller is just cut out after this movie
Mhm.
entirely. So if this movie does really well, you're going to get all of these characters, all of these things that just aren't going to come back. And then you're going to have to deal with the fans really liked this, but James Gunn plan and DC's plan is so far removed from it that there's just going to be this collide of interests. So I don't know. I'm hoping this movie does well. I want DC. I'm a huge DC fan. When it comes to everything except for their cinematic universes, I pretty much prefer DC. I prefer their characters, their comics,
Mhm.
video games. Superman is my favorite superhero of all time, and I want DC to succeed. But and I think that if anyone's going to be able to salvage it, I think James Gunn will be able to.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. I feel like he's got the talent and I guess in a
Mhm.
sense the balls to do so.
Yeah,
Despite how
exactly.
people have been like, James Gunn's ruining the DC universe and whatever, which I agree with. Freaking bring back Henry Cavill. But like he's like, bro, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna want. You're gonna like it, all right? It's gonna be pretty cool. Okay, back off. You
I
know?
respect someone who is willing to take a big swing and a mess.
Yep.
And I'm hoping it turns out to be a hit. But even if it's not, I really respect that he is really swinging for it.
Yep.
I really appreciate on a very personal level how much time he is personally putting into the Superman movie. He's in the process of writing it. He might even just direct it himself.
That'd be cool.
And everything he has said about Superman as a character and the way he talks about the film Superman Legacy, I have nothing but high hopes for it. Um, and I also am really excited for his weird stuff. I'm so excited for the Monster Squad or whatever.
Hmm.
100% non-ironically, I know nothing about that. I know nothing about the. Can't even think of their names. I don't know. The other weird stuff. He announced so much weird stuff for DC going forward, and I'm excited for it. The stuff that I know nothing about, I'm excited to see, because I think that's what'll separate itself from Marvel. Is he's going to give DC the Guardians of the Galaxy treatment, where he takes the weirdest group of superheroes that he can find and makes them awesome. Like, I'm so into that. I'm so pumped for Booster Gold. I love Booster Gold.
Yeah, no, seriously.
And Blue Beetle. I'm hyped for Blue Beetle.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that's coming out this year. here.
Yeah, I know. I'm dying to see a trailer for it. But anyway, so I find myself in this weird position where, as of right now, I am more optimistic for the future of DC than I am for Marvel.
Yeah, that's valid.
I do not think in their current state that is true. I think Marvel still uh, is dominating over DC. But for in the next 5 years, I am way more hopeful for the future of DC than I am for Marvel right now. I think Marvel has had its run. I'm happy with the Infinity Saga. I still plan on watching, Marvel movies as they come out. But I am way more excited and honestly optimistic that DC is really, and especially starting from scratch, he's going to have to focus on the quality of the movies. They're going to have to be good movies in order to convince viewers to go see them. Marvel has such a name for himself. I think they've gotten lazy. I think that's what Phase 4 was. Is they got too cocky and cut a lot of corners on their movies and filmmaking, and the quality reflects that. And yet all of them make bank. DC doesn't have that going for them. If they are going to compete, if they are going to make a name for themselves, they cannot cut any corners.
No.
Everything they have to put out has to be top-notch quality. And it's going to have to be that way for a couple of years before they might get a little lack. They might, but I think for the first few years of James Gunn DC, I think everything they put out is going to have to be top-notch quality. And I hope they do. I hope they really do invest in that and put the time and effort and hire the right people. Because you're right, it's going to be hard to recover. No Henry Cavill, the best Superman casting since Christopher Reeve. How are you going to replace that?
Yep.
They have to really pull out something absolutely that's just going to knock our socks off. Whoever they hire is going to have to blow us away. And I think they understand that. And so I'm not happy that Henry Cavill was scrapped. I think it's still rather up in the air whether or not Gal Gadot is coming back. I know Patty Jenkins is not going to be directing any more Wonder Woman movies, but it's rather unclear on Gal Gadot. I wouldn't mind a Wonder Woman recast. I like Gal Gadot. I actually think she's a great Wonder Woman. I think she's great. I want more. I want a buff, shredded Wonder Woman though.
Like Gina Carano.
Yes. I want someone of that like stature, of that build to play Wonder Woman. I want her to be a tank, man. I think that would be really freaking cool. But I would not be opposed if Gal Gadot was brought back. I think she was a fantastic, fantastic Wonder Woman. And I think Wonder Woman, their first one, is still one of the best DC films, if not the best.
Oh, 100%.
Anyway, so that was my long-winded answer and thoughts on DC. I'm super excited for it, but only pretty much after this year. I can't say I'm cautious about Aquaman, but I don't necessarily have high expectations for it. Nor Shazam. I'm excited for Shazam, but I don't think it's going to be good. But I think
Yeah.
it'll be entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just from the trailers, I don't know.
I feel like it'd be more of the same, which
It'll
I'm
be more the
okay
same.
with.
I don't.
I like
I'm
stuff
okay
like
with
that.
that.
Yeah.
I think if nothing else, some of the cast is going to carry. I think Zachary Levi's charisma is just going to shine brighter than ever. And Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu are top-notch
Oh
actresses,
yeah.
and they are going to put all that they have into it, and I'm excited to see them. So I don't think the movie itself will be great, but I'm excited to see the performances, and I think it'll be fun. I like Shazam a lot.
I do too. I'm intrigued for sure, you know. I hope Aquaman is good because I love the first Aquaman. So I'm hoping that one
Right.
is also fun. But yeah, it's kind of a weird, who knows, kind of a place for DC. Heck, for Marvel too, even though we have like a full plan. Um, but we're kind of like, like
Yeah.
where's this going?
What's your general excitement level on the next 5 years of superhero films?
I'm gonna watch all of them and probably love all of them, so.
Fantastic.
The
And isn't that not the point of cinema?
love
To
thing?
have a, well, to have a good time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I don't know if I've talked about this with you or not, but it's a conversation we should have sometime. It's just
Mhm.
that there's so many people that are like, specifically like film snobs, that are like, oh, we can't let freaking remakes and sequels take over the theaterplex and whatever. And like I get the concern, but that's not gonna happen. Like it's not a huge problem if people just go see those movies all the time because that's what the general public wants. So that's what they're gonna watch. And we still have like, like film festivals and that kind of stuff that we can still watch. So I don't think it's like a be all end all kind of a thing. I get the concern and it is a little worrying. But I mean, if people like a movie and it entertains them, at the end of the day, that's the important part. Like me, I like
Sure.
my movies to have like depth and character in them or whatever, but I'm not, not gonna adore like Shang-Chi just because, the characters are kind of like what actually that's a bad example because the Shang-Chi characters actually really rock. Um,
I agree. I agree.
it's not like I'm not gonna go enjoy a nameless Marvel movie
Sure.
because like the characters don't have depth and it doesn't teach me anything about like mortality or whatever. I'm still gonna watch it because I know it'll probably be pretty entertaining unless your name is Thor: Love and Thunder. So like, you know,
No, I agree. And I think it is important to enjoy movies and like as long as there's an audience out there, I feel like it's okay. I tend to be on the more cynical side of as I don't know, a lot of movies.
right?
But like as long as they're not offensively bad,
Exactly.
like I'm not and see, I have my opinions on what qualifies as offensively bad, such as the Eternals. I I think that movie is an absolute disaster. But like most Marvel movies, if there are people out there who enjoy Thor: Love and Thunder, good on them. It's not for me, but
They're wrong, but it's okay.
yeah, they're wrong, but it's okay. Exactly. You know, and so I don't know. I'm excited for Marvel. I think their quality has dropped significantly, and I don't think that's going to change at all.
Mhm.
But I liked your comparison to comic books. Not every comic book is a masterpiece,
Right.
but they're a fun way to spend some time. They have all the fun crossovers and Easter eggs. Like, if you've read a series of comic books, you'll probably think it's not great. It's not the most memorable thing, but you had a good time. And I
Hmm.
hope and I appreciate that Marvel seems to have been leaning kind of into that, where they are putting them out super fast and a lot, just like comic books. Um, but that has its own set of problems, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, not every comic book is a masterpiece. Not every comic book movie is a masterpiece, and I think that's okay. Um, Coming from Marvel, I don't know. Personally, when it comes to Marvel though, at the end of the day, I don't think I really care that much.
Sure.
I'm not as invested in Marvel as I used to be.
Sure. Yeah, no.
Like I said, I'm more than happy with what we got through the Infinity Saga and the Spider-Man movies. And from now on, if they produce anything else that's phenomenal, then that's just makes it all the more exciting for me. But right now, I don't care. I am fully invested in DC and their future, though, and I really do expect great things from them.
Very good.
But no, I'm excited to watch Ant-Man, though. Like I said, I plan on going and seeing it probably next weekend. That's when I'll get around to it.
Right.
But I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see another Marvel movie on the big screen. I'm fascinated by MODOK,
Bro.
and
Oh my God.
I can't believe they
I
used him.
I think you're gonna come out of this with MODOK being like one of your favorite parts.
I'm so intrigued because I've thought about that. I can see this going one of two ways. I can see myself absolutely like adoring him, or just thinking it was the dumbest thing ever. But
Well, it
I
could be the dumbest thing ever and
but I'll
enjoy
still
it,
love
you
it.
know what I'm
No, you're
saying?
right. You're right. Okay, a little off topic. Do you remember Killer Bean Forever?
Yes.
From what I understand, the makers of that are developing a Killer Bean Forever game.
They are.
Okay, I'm glad that you've heard of this too, and I don't just sound crazy. But I'm so excited
Me too. It'll
to
be so
follow
fun.
that. For those of you who have not seen Killer Bean Forever,
Go watch
look
it.
it up.
It's on
It's
YouTube.
phenomenal.
It's fantastic.
Well, Dominique, do you have any concluding thoughts for us in these last few moments?
Um,
Any other questions or things you would like to bring up?
go watch Ant-Man the Wasp because I want an Ant-Man 4, please. Thank you.
Nice. Sounds good. Yeah, well, like I said, if you don't already follow us on Letterboxd, Jetpack Cat 076, Dominique is Shadow Spider 004,
We'll be posting his much more in-depth analysis and whatever of Ant-Man the Wasp: Quantumania this evening.
which I am so excited to read. So anyway, guys, go and watch some movies. Feel free to comment and reach out to us. Let us know what you think of Ant-Man. Let us know if you're excited for the future of Marvel and DC, what you're most looking forward to, or maybe some critiques of things you're not looking forward to as much.
Yeah.
And go watch the movies.
Yeah. Go watch Godfather, unlike us, who still
Unlike us, we're gonna die on this hill.
we are dying on this hill. We'll even watch Godfather Part 2 and 3, but still have not seen the first one.
Incredible. And well, until next time, friends, this has been the Electric Loose podcast with Duran Barron and Dominique Beltran.
See y'all. Have a good day. Good life.
Good life.
A good week until the next episode or whatever.
Yeah.
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 Live off the high our voices and critiques give you until you can hear them again.
Yeah. And then we'll try to, as we are the only podcast, we'll try to
Go to bed, turn us on, and just feel at peace.
feel at
Or
peace.
excited. Whichever you want.
Yeah.
Depending on where you are in the world.
All right.
Anyways.
Till next time, folks. See you then.
Bye.